All these gangs, yes, they need to be stopped. Yeah, we cannot have a country that is led by gangs, that someone who is leading you has been facilitating rape, has been facilitating kidnapping, has been facilitating murder and all those. It cannot work like that.
If the police that are in Haiti are able to capture barbecue or arrest barbecue or even put barbecue down, do you think that the war will end in Haiti?
Barbecue was a supporter of Jovenel Moïse. Yeah? And when that happened, now everything, because even Jovenel Moïse was also implicated in gang and gang leadership. As we spoke here earlier in another episode, we say that these political parties in Haiti had gangs associated with them. So you find that even the one who is in government had gangs. All these brought about the kind of crisis that we have right now in Haiti. Because now you have the president or the opposition coming up with a judge and saying that they are appointing a judge as the interim president in a country that already has a president who is saying that my term limit has 1 year left. Jovenel Moïse was actually assassinated in 2021, July 7, at 1 a.m. The president is assassinated in his own residence and by some Colombian mercenaries who were sent to assassinate him.
As you can see that the Asians in Haiti, they believe in a religion called Voodoo.
Yes.
But hapa Kenya tunaita uchawi. Ni kama uchawi. They believe in uchawi. That is the reason you see like barbecue akona roho. Akona roho is ready even to die for Haitians. Unaona? Is ready to die. Kwa kitu yenye unajua anafanya is bad. But the guy has confidence and is ready. What do you think about that? What is really happening? Hello guys, welcome once again to this our channel. Today we are going back to Wambie Kitu Boni because here you know you are the master international news.
We are going back to Haiti to understand the genesis, the recent genesis of what is happening in Haiti. And one name that keeps popping up is President or the belated President Jovenel Moïse. Yeah, the president who was assassinated in Haiti, the last president of Haiti. Since Jovenel Moïse was assassinated, there has never been any other president in Haiti. So, to better understand this, we need to go back to 2015. It was in 2015 that Jovenel Moïse was trying to be a president, that he was campaigning. And at that time, there was a president called President Michel Martelly was the then president of Haiti. So President Michel Martelly endorsed the then president Jovenel Moïse. So after he was endorsed, of course, he won the elections, but won by a margin of 33%. Now the 33% could not make anyone a president, and the elections had to be called to a runoff. That is in 2015. We are talking about 2015. Now, when the runoff was called, the opposition did not accept that the elections were free and fair. So the then opposition leader, Jude Celestin, said that the elections were not fair and they were heard by the judiciary then, and then the elections came to be annulled. So you remember, it was 2015, the elections have been done, they have been annulled, but the elections have not yet been held. In between there, the term of Michel Martelly has come to an end. Okay, so they had to have another president who will oversee the elections and everything. So they had to have that interim president. They appointed an interim president for that. So the elections were held in 2016 in November. Now you can see there is a lapse there because one president has already left, that Michel Martelly. We have an interim president. The elections were supposed to be held in 2015. They have been held in 2016, November. And in these elections, Jovenel Moïse won 56% outright win, no runoff. Okay. So then what happens is that the inauguration of President, the belated president, that is Jovenel Moïse, took place in 2017, February. Now the problem is this time in between was a lot, you know. Kama elections zilikuwa zifanywe this year, then they've been postponed 2 years.
Yeah.
It brings a lot of contention.
True.
And later on, they will come to have a disagreement about why the elections were done in 2017 and what is the term limit of this president who has been just sworn in. But in between, before we get there, in between, in 2019, there was also a postponement of other elections, the legislative elections.
Yeah.
Okay, so the legislative election, that is the members of parliament, sort of, in Haiti. So they were also postponed. So you find you are in a country where we have a president, Jovenel Moïse, but now the legislature has already surpassed their limit, their term limit as well. So if you're looking at that conundrum, it brings a lot of chaos in the country, political chaos. Now, come to 2021, the opposition comes in and says the government of the day needs to have ended its mandate because the elections were supposed to be held in 2015. Yeah. Now you have the then president, Jovenel Moïse, saying that my term is supposed to end in 2022 because their term is 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so meaning that if you're in 2015, you go to 2020, then elections, then the new president comes in 2021. But Jovenel Moïse was sworn in 2017. So plus 5 comes to 2022.
2022.
Yeah. So you find that there was a miscommunication and a lot of chaos because there is no agreement over what is the term limit of this president. Now, all this brought about the kind of crisis that we have right now in Haiti. Because now you have the president or the opposition coming up with a judge and saying that they are appointing a judge as the interim president in a country that already has a president who is saying that my term limit has 1 year left, you know. So
who did they elect that time?
There was a judge. Oh. There was a judge that was appointed by the opposition and say that this is our president because your term has ended. This is our president.
Who was elected like the president that time?
There is a judge, some judge there, but I can't remember the name clearly. But there was a judge that was appointed as the president. But Jovenel Moïse was still continuing with his term. So you have sort of two presidents. Yes. Then after that, you remember that Jovenel Moïse was actually assassinated in 2021, July 7 at 1 a.m. But the problem is, before that assassination came,
there was at night, 1 a.m.
At night, 1 a.m. There is all this talk of politics and the legitimacy of the president. And at that time, I need to mention, the gangs were also active. In his tenure, the gangs were active, but they were not as brutal as they are right now. So to seek legitimacy of all this that is happening in his government, he wanted the outside countries to also acknowledge him as the president. And that is where the United States comes in. The US and the Organization of American States backed him and say that the president's term will end at 2022. Yes. The opposition is saying 2021. 2021 February has already passed. So you find that to some extent, the United States has gone against the opposition's needs. And that's why you find that some Haitians will come out and say that the US has a hand in what is happening in Haiti. So let us continue. Before the president was assassinated, he came out and said that I am foiling an assassination attack. There's an assassination attack that was put to the president. That is what he said. It was not documented or anything, but he came out and said that someone wanted to assassinate me, and I know those people wanted to assassinate me, and I am going to do heaven and earth to make sure that those people are not part of this country. Do you remember, as I started, I mentioned there was President Michel Mateli?
Yes.
So the president came out and started an investigation on drug deals in Haiti. And guess who was part of the drug dealing? The brother-in-law to President Michel Mateli.
Where?
You know? And the president also said that he wanted to go and do a purge on state capture. Guess who was also part of the state capture? part of the friends and family of President Michel Mateli. So the president was fighting a person who endorsed him, a person who he found to be part of a very, very deep dealing of Haitian politics and everything, and all the corruption, because there was a lot of corruption in Haiti. But now, the president doesn't have a legislature, you know. He had the various prime ministers out there appointing and firing, appointing and firing. So all this came about, and after he started mentioning names, we're not implicating anyone, but after he started mentioning names, just a few months later or days later, the president is assassinated in his own residence and by some Colombian mercenaries who were sent to assassinate him. So that threw the entire country into chaos. Because one, you don't have a president. Second, even the prime minister who was appointed, that is Ariel Henry, who was appointed, had not yet been sworn in before the president is assassinated, because he was just appointed like days before the assassination. So Prime Minister Ariel Henry had not yet been appointed, had not yet been sworn in.
So no leader.
So there is no leader, there is no parliament, there is no president, there is nothing. So that is why you find Haiti went into that kind of a situation, because already they saw that this president is an authoritarian, that is President Jovenel Moïse, because he was making decisions without the parliament.
True.
That is, we are saying that is called ruling by decree. You are making decisions out of your own. You don't know if you have the national interests. That's why you have the parliament there to debate everything from different regions. Now you don't have a parliament. You don't have any legitimacy to be a president. People are saying that your term has ended and everything. You are only supported by the United States. So all that compounded into what we now see as today. And at that time, Barbecue was a supporter of Jovenel Moïse. And when that happened, now everything, because even Jovenel Moïse was also implicated in gang leadership. As we spoke here earlier in another episode, we say that these political parties in Haiti had gangs associated with them. So you find that even the one who is in government had gangs. And Barbecue was a police person during Moïse's regime, but after that, Barbecue turned to be a gang leader. Yes.
Okay, where did this Barbecue got the enough energy of being the greatest gang leader in Haiti? Where?
Of course, he had a lot. He had a lot of support, basing the fact that he was also a person who was supporting the regime. So he had a lot of support from the government, of course. And that's why we speak about the kind of wanton corruption among Haitian leaders at that time that led to all this. And you remember Prime Minister Ariel Henry that I've just mentioned?
Yes.
He was rejected by all people of Haiti just recently, because one, he had not yet been sworn in before the president died. So who gave you that mandate to be the prime minister? No one. Then even the opposition did not want it, because you are elected by someone who we saw was out of term. You know. So that is why you find that there was a lot of rally to make sure that that Ariel Henry has stepped down as the prime minister, so that Haiti can go on. And Haiti came to accept this new prime minister that is the current prime minister, because he was not part of all this conundrum that went on. Yes.
Well, that is very very.
So that is where you find Jovenel Moïse can come in all this. Of course, we're going to have another session where we're going to discuss critically about Jovenel Moïse, but that is the political kind of a situation that Haiti found itself in, where you have no government, you have no support, you have people who are disgruntled, an economic crisis. Do you remember that was COVID time? And COVID played a role, because the economic crisis also battered Haiti. And Haiti has been a nation that has also been affected with natural calamities. Call it earthquakes, call it hurricanes. It has been battered with a lot of climatic conditions that have made people to be in dire need. And now when you compound that with economic crisis and then political crisis, it just explodes.
Okay, Bonnie, as we finish, do you think that if the police that are in Haiti are able to capture Barbecue or arrest Barbecue, or even put barbecue down, do you think that the war will end in Haiti? Or what are they supposed to do so that Haiti can be back again? Like what happened in Sudan. And Sudan right now it's good. What are they supposed to do there in Haiti?
It is to restore faith in the government, to restore faith in the institutions. Because this came about because people did not trust the institutions. They saw institutions as being against them. If you're talking about the judiciary, they were saying that the judiciary is also working for some people and against others. If the police, they say the police is working for some people and against others. Wanton corruption, people do not trust their government. So if you don't trust your government, then you just say that let us form our own society here that we can call ours, you know. Yeah. So killing barbecue will not immediately restore Haiti into whatever you want it. It will be a step forward to warn the gangs that if you go this route, you're going to be put to ground, but it will not immediately restore Haiti. Haiti will take years. It will take a lot of years so that it can be restored. It is not something that will be done in a snap of a finger, but it will be a process. One, all these gangs, yes, they need to be stopped. Yeah? We cannot have a country that is led by gangs, that someone who is leading you has been facilitating rape, has been facilitating kidnapping, has been facilitating murder and all those. It cannot work like that. So it will take a lot. The government will have to come in and restore that faith, and that means that they need to be transparent and honest to the people of Haiti, of their dealings and all that. So yes, they need to take barbecue out of the kind of things that he's doing, maybe put him in prison, but then again, there's a lot that needs to be done.
Well, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see what is going to happen if barbecue is being brought down. As you can see that the Asians in Haiti, they believe in a religion called Voodoo.
Yes.
But hapa Kenya tunaita uchawi. Ni kama uchawi. They believe in uchawi. That is the reason you see like barbecue akona raw. Akona raw is ready even to die for Haitians. Unaona? Is ready to die. Kwa kitu yenye unajua anafanya is bad, but the guy has confidence and is ready. What do you think about that? What is really happening?
And before I even answer you, do you remember the other time last week when we had our men there, the Kenya police. They had a vehicle that broke down in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
Some people were saying the Voodoo has started working. How can that vehicle just broke down on the streets? Which was very, very interesting. But Voodoo is a mix of Roman Catholic. These are rituals of Roman that are taken, part of Roman Catholic, and part of Taino culture. Taino were the people who the Haitians found when the slave trade. You remember we also did an episode to recount how Haitians came to live there. Yeah. The Taino people were there and they had their culture. So Voodoo takes a bit of that, and then Voodoo takes a bit of West African culture. We have, because these people are originally from West Africa. Remember the transatlantic trade, where slaves were gotten from West Africa and then brought to Americas. Yeah. So it is a mix of all this. So you find that they believe in Voodoo, but you'll find most of them are actually Christians. So they practice Voodoo as part of Christianity, their own way of viewing things, and some will also pray to those gods in tandem to how they pray to our God, or that the God that we believe in. So Voodoo is part of Haitian culture. It's part of how they view life, how they view things, how things are going. If you want to go back, you can go back in history and analyze Francois Duvalier, the Papa Doc that you had also spoken about.
Yeah, we talked about
the person who was an authoritarian leader in Haiti. He believed in Voodoo a lot and used Voodoo as part of his way to whip emotions and instill fear among Haitians. In fact, he put himself sort of as a god-like figure so that Haitians would fear him. Used to dress black and invoke the spirits, they call them Loa, the Loa of death, so that people will fear him and will just see him as a person who is really supposed to be there And that is how he managed to be in power till his death. And even his son succeeded him, Baby Doc. So it is part of Haitian culture. While voodoo, if you go and Google, if you go and read basically on YouTube on surface level, you'll find that Western cultures have pictured voodoo as sort of people having dolls. And then they sort of prick dolls and someone else will feel pain as they prick that doll. They have a doll of you, then they can do anything they want. If they want to kill you, they kill that doll. So it is not that. We want just to...
They believe.
Yeah, it is not just that. That is how Western culture is taking voodoo to be. It is an entire belief, an entire culture that Haitians have. Of course, we respect their culture.
Yeah.
That believes in those three cultures that I've just mentioned. Roman Catholic has part of it, and then Taino culture, and then you have the Western African culture that has mixed, and then you have this sort of a culture called voodoo, where it is practiced mostly people, some can even hide it, but people practice it alongside Christianity. They'll tell you I'm a Christian, but they know they
Deep
practice
inside.
yes,
Yeah.
and it has had an effect. Of course, even in gangs, you'll find they have all these beliefs, and that, as you started by saying, it is something that also gives them that aura, yeah, to be brave and to go out there and do whatever they want to do, because they believe in these spirits, the lowers, to give them that mandate to do anything they want to do.
Well, so I think the police that are in Haiti they are going to have a hard time. They are going to. It's not going to be easy.
They not only need guns, they also need God. Eh?
Yeah, true. They need God, because for you to fight with something like that, you need God, and you need to be a very spiritual person for you to be able to do that. But so far so good.
Yeah.
They have done a good job. Hope that the last minute is going to save them, because this is now the time that they are going to face barbecue head on.
Yes.
Hope that everything is going to be okay, and barbecue is going to surrender and go to prison.
Yes, that is our hope.
Let's meet next time. Goodbye.